Hey everyone, so today I want to go over my 1 year with the Canon R6. So I want to start off with some pros of switching from the 5D Mark IV to the Canon R6. And jumping from the 5D Mark IV to the R6, I think the biggest pro for me was having stabilization in camera, so I don't have to worry about getting lenses that have stabilization for video shoots. I do a lot of handheld video, specifically for weddings. I do it all handheld, and I switch back and forth from 60 frames per second to 23.98. So in 60, I'm able to slow it down, and that helps stabilize the footage. Or I can always warp stabilize the 23 frames stuff. But now having the IBIS in camera, that helps a lot, where I don't have to use stabilization in post as much, or if at all. And so I find that being one of the biggest benefits for me from switching from the 5D Mark IV to the R6. Another pro is having electronic shutter. So having the electronic shutter gives me 20 frames per second in high-speed burst mode, which comes in really handy when I'm shooting sports, which I shoot often on the side as a freelance gig for the local college. And then also having electronic shutter, it allows me to take photos in places and not be so loud because the mirror isn't flapping up and down to take the photo. So that comes in really handy when I might be doing like some street photography, or I'm just trying to be a little quieter on capturing whatever moment it is that I'm in. Like when I second shoot a wedding, I can jump into electronic shutter and not like pull any eyes to me by making noise in the middle of the ceremony. So another benefit of having the Canon R6 is having Canon RAW or Canon log in video. And having log in video gives me more dynamic range, and I'm able to color grade the footage to be more of my style. Now the 5D Mark IV I ended up sending it off to Canon to get Canon log in there for video, but it didn't come from the factory with it. Now they might have added that to the later models, but my early model did not come from the factory with it. So it's been hugely beneficial to have Canon log for my video shoots, or just anything that I shoot video in, because then I can add my artistic look to it, or a LUT that I like, whatever it may be, to achieve the look I'm going for. Another benefit I really like about the Canon R6 is, since it's mirrorless, there's no mirror to have a optical viewfinder or whatever it may be. So when I look through the viewfinder now, it's actually a little tiny LCD screen or LED screen, whatever it may be. So I can actually see what my exposure is before I take it, because it has a way of showing you what your exposure is, what it's going to be before you take the photo. Instead of taking the photo and seeing that it's over or under exposed, you can see it in the viewfinder. And it comes in really handy. You can actually shoot video through the viewfinder, which comes in handy when the sun's beating down in your face, and if you can't see your screen very well, you can always just put your eye up to the eye hole and see what you have in front of you, which comes in very handy during weddings sometimes, because I shoot a lot of weddings that are outside. I think another couple benefits that come from having the mirrorless is the autofocus that came along with the R6. Now from the 5D Mark IV to the R6, you get IAF, which comes in really handy when you're trying to capture those moments, because it will lock right on the face, and as soon as it sees an eye or just a little bit of the eye, it will lock right on the eye, so you always know that your eyes are going to be sharp in your photos or your videos, which comes in really handy. I also love the face detection, because obviously you want the face in focus and not like the chest or the legs, wherever your autofocus point may be. Using IAF or face detection, it will track the face that is closest to the camera, and that comes in really handy when you're shooting video and photo. So for cons, I don't really have any cons other than the battery life is kind of short. It's no different than the 5D Mark IV. You actually might get more out of it than the 5D Mark IV, because these batteries are slightly different. I'm not sure if there's more power in them. They're exactly the same size, because you can use 5D Mark IV batteries in the Canon R6, which is nice because I've had a bunch of leftover batteries from when I sold my 5D Mark IV. But the biggest con is if you want to get the battery pack, it's a little expensive right now. And so far, I don't think there's any third-party battery packs out there, or battery grips is what I mean. So once a third party comes out, I'll probably do that because I don't really want to pay the Canon price. And I've never had trouble using a third party battery grip for my 5D Mark IV, so I don't think I'll have any issues with the Canon R6. Now, I don't really have any other cons. I love this camera. I have 2 of them for weddings and sports. That way I can have 2 bodies for a football game, and I can have 2 bodies for when I go shoot a wedding. That way I don't have to switch lenses all day. I use EF mount lenses with the adapters. I do have a Canon adapter, the $99 one, and then I have a Viltrox, I think it is, which is a third-party adapter. Both of them work phenomenally. They work great. I have no issues with autofocus or anything. All the data transfers. It's amazing. So the adapters that I use have been great. And so there's no cons there. I will be getting some RF glass in the future, but until then, I'll be sticking to my EF glass. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate if you would like and subscribe down below, and I will see you all next time.